This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. You may have noticed recently that Ashkenazi Khazarian Jerry Seinfeld has been once again prominently placed out in the public eye. He's on every single television show promoting his new movie. And of course, this is all done by design. It's not a coincidence that Jerry's being rolled out while all these quote-unquote tensions are rising around America, while, of course, the strategically planned World War III is taking place over in Israel, Gaza, Palestine, all done by design. And, of course, this is a war that's going on between governments attacking civilians, but the general public are too dumb to realize that the true enemy here is the military state, the industrial complex that has that star as their logo over there in the Middle East, right? They're too dumb to realize that everything that they're doing, the government is baiting them into doing, which of course, this massive division that we see going on college campuses is done by design. And Jerry Seinfeld, as all of them are doing, have no problem having themselves dragged through the mud in order to push forward the cause. And they've called on Jerry because Jerry is a notable, very prominent, very famous, and very beloved Khazarian who is out in public now, who is playing into this divide. So Jerry, who is very, very, very self-aware, Jerry suddenly, who picks and chooses when he appears, is showing up on college campuses at a time period where he knows exactly what will happen if he shows up there, that people will walk out. And he'll continue to push this story forward, this division forward in America, where civilians don't even realize that they're being manufactured, right? They're being manufactured into choosing a side in a war they know nothing about. And the ultimate war here is really the government attacking the civilians. And all civilians should be united against this global tyrannical government, but they're not. They're falling for the deception. So I'm going to show you Jerry Seinfeld here because a lot of people out there probably don't even know Jerry Seinfeld, of course. A Kabbalist, Jerry Seinfeld. But what he's doing first and foremost that you need to understand, because Jerry, just like most of these Khazarians, are Freemasons. They go through Freemasonry. Like I've talked about in previous videos, the Kabbalah is tied directly in with Freemasonry. But the teachings they follow in their secret societies go back to Albert Pike. Again, this is all scripted. World War III is scripted. A third World War will occur between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. Of course, we've seen Jerry, Peekaboo Jerry, on magazine covers doing the all-seeing eye, the 666 symbol, right over his eye, along with every other celebrity. It tells us what? It tells us that they all just love to do this to themselves on magazine covers? Of course not. It tells us they're all part of the club. And guess what? You're not in it. Here's the scene that just took place at Duke where Jerry talked. And again, he talks about, well, he's proud of the people who are standing up for what they believe in, but don't kill off comedy. Of course, this is all strategically done to continue the division here in the United States of America.
Deal about our commencement speaker?
I totally admire the ambitions of your generation to create a more just and inclusive society. I think it is also wonderful that you care so much about not hurting other people's feelings in the million and one ways we all do that every second of every day. It's lovely to want to fix those things, but, all caps, but, what I need to tell you as a comedian, do not lose your sense of humor. You can have no idea at this point in your life how much you are going to need it to get through. Not enough of life makes sense for you to be able to survive it without humor. And I know all of you here are going to use all of your brains and muscle and soul to improve the world, and I know you're going to do a bang-up job. And when you're done, as I am now, I bet the world, because of you, will be a much better place. But it will still not make a whole hell of a lot of sense. It'll be a better, different, but still pretty insane mess.
So let's take a deeper look at Jerry, because of course, Jerry is very self-aware, okay? Jerry would be one of these people who wouldn't go out there doing these things unless he was told to do it because he knows, hey, there's a lot going on college campuses. I probably shouldn't show up since I'm on TV speaking pro-Israel, probably going to cause some problems. But they want it to make national news. Again, this lures people in to mimicking the same behavior. This is continuing to influence young college students out there to copy what they're seeing everybody else doing. They have no idea why they're doing it. They have no idea what the teachings of these people specifically say. And as you've seen, a lot of Democrats have aligned themselves with Palestine, right? But at the same time, these same Democrats would silence speech that someone like me has, who is speaking about what's in the teachings of these specific people over, year over year over year, when we've talked about what's inside these books in regards to children, in regards to how World War III is plotted in the protocols of the elders of Zion, etc. They've all silenced that speech and called it anti-you-know-what, but at the same time, they're pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, right? So none of these people know exactly what they're doing. And they could be close to truth, but they just refuse to see the bigger picture. They just are staying inside of a bubble, a manufactured bubble, that the government is creating to continue the divide here in America, right? If you're pro-Palestine, you're a Democrat. If you're pro-Israel, you're a Republican. That's how this whole thing continues to work. So Jerry, again, he's on magazine covers doing the all-seeing eye right in front of people's faces. Nobody notices it, right? Doing the casual wink. Now, if you don't know Jerry Seinfeld, this is Jerry Seinfeld's wife, Jessica. You might say, why are we talking about Jessica? Well, what do you think? Jerry's going to marry outside the club? No, here's Jessica, right? On a book cover of her own book called Food Swings. Then you notice what Jessica's doing on that magazine cover, just like Jerry was doing earlier? Oh, she's putting something over her eye. Now, it's a donut. And for those of you that don't know the significance of the donut or voodoo donuts, which I've covered many times, many of you are very familiar with it, but donut's another symbol. They use a lot of food as symbols, pizza, donuts, hot dogs, okay? They have code meaning because they can get away with saying this out in the open that they love donuts, they love pizza. They could go over the top and even wear it all over their clothes, but that's not what it really means. It's code. Food is used as code for something else, and it involves young ones. And the teachings of a specific group of people specifically talks about how they're allowed to do these acts with young ones. And guess what? Jerry follows those books and those teachings. So is it a coincidence that Jerry's wife is playing peekaboo with the donut on her book cover, right? What is she? Let me guess. She's a big fan of Gordon Ramsay. Is that why? Because Gordon Ramsay's always doing it, and he's a big famous cook, maybe the most famous one in the world, right? Holds menus up over his eye. What did you think? Did you think that Gordon Ramsay wasn't one of them? Is there somebody out there going, whoa, Gordon Ramsay? They're all in on it. I can't emphasize it enough. If you're famous, you're in on it. You'll find them doing the same signs and symbols out in the open. You don't become famous. I don't care if you're the greatest cook ever. There's a lot of people out there that are great cooks. Are they as famous as Gordon Ramsay? No. The problem that people have is that they get entertained by these people and they don't want to believe it. Like, well, I like Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, I like how Donald Trump talks. So they refuse to believe it because they don't want to believe it. But the truth reveals itself in signs and symbols all the time. So what is she paying homage to Gordon Ramsay? Gordon Ramsay holding up a goat? No, of course not. And again, it's no coincidence that Jessica's holding up a donut when I reference what I was saying in regards to what these foods actually mean. Here's Jerry out in the open talking about what he likes to dine on.
Wow, that looks great. Thank you. What you want in a pancake is to have the consistency of young human flesh.
It's spongy, it has life to it.
You're with a guy with brightly colored undergarments, and you got soft human flesh in front of you.
Right, so you think that that's some type of a joke? Is that the type of humor that you would crack, use out in public with one of your friends on national? I mean, give me a break, right? This is all stuff that's in their books and in their teachings. And again, if you look at the bill that just got passed, okay, look at the specific wording in there about that word libel, okay? The word that comes before it is blood. Okay, that specific thing they don't want people to discuss because in the past, when people have found that out, these people have been exposed for what they really do and who they really are, which again, isn't who they claim. They claim to be something that they're not. They are of the synagogue of Satan. So we've seen Jerry on magazine covers like Vanity Fair, right? Here's Jerry. Jerry's Last Stand. Is anyone noticing Jerry's hand here? The sign of the master of the second veil. Okay, this is also known as the hidden hand symbol. And we've seen so many celebrities do it, yet nobody notices. We've seen the Beatles. We've seen figures throughout history, George Washington included. We've seen Robin Williams. We see the king and the princes and all these people do the hidden hand. And let me just give you a quick rundown on the hidden hand, okay? The hidden hand is also referred to as the hidden hand of Jabulon. In the early degrees of Freemasonry, the Mason is told the name of God has been lost. He's even told that he should use a substitute name for God, Mahaban. And eventually, as they go through degree after degree after degree, they are told that the one that they are to worship goes by the name Jabulon, and that he is now ready to declare himself a man as the great I am. And this is stuff that they keep hidden from everybody out there, because if everybody out there realized who they actually worship, and that Freemasons weren't really this nice, friendly organization of Christians. I mean, the mindset that people have is they see them and they're like, oh yeah, they do charitable work. And again, I've talked about this if you're new here. Over the years, philanthropy is a big thing in Freemasonry and secret societies, which is why celebrities are always going out there and talking about where they donate money. They're taught and trained to do this because it gives a perception in your mind of who they are, but it's not who they really are. It builds a barrier for them of protection against any type of criticism, any type of suspicion as to who they really are, right? So they pretend to be philanthropists and give to charitable organizations. Same thing you see with the Freemasons in your local town. But really, if people found out who they worship, and what they were responsible for, and what they were behind, and what they were trying to do, and how they were conspiring in your towns, they would be run out like they've always been. So that's Jerry doing the hidden hand. Of course, like you saw the other pictures of many other celebrities out there. You could pretty much find every celebrity doing it. Of course, you might remember that Jerry actually had to get rolled out because Michael Richards, the guy known as Kramer from Seinfeld, actually got himself into trouble because he was saying racial things on stage, the same types of things that would get you probably imprisoned by the woke audience at this point. But Michael Richards said it, and Jerry came to his defense immediately, got him out on national TV on the David Letterman show to apologize so that everybody would forgive him immediately, unlike how we see things going now. I mean, if they want you canceled, they'll cancel you. If it's a mistake, they'll make sure to protect you. And that's because Michael Richards is another Freemason. Michael Richards even appearing on the cover of Scottish Rite magazine. You could see all the pictures of him with his little Masonic cap, shaking hands in Masonic lodges, doing Freemasonic handshakes. So it's no surprise, because obviously if something like that happens, that's not part of the plan. See, what Jerry's doing right now is part of the plan. Jerry's coming out and he knows he's going to be a divisive person because of his quote-unquote beliefs. He doesn't really believe what he says. People have to think that these people just go and read the Torah. They do not read the Torah. They read the Talmud, the Zohar, okay? And you could read those books, and you could read books like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and then you'll see where this entire conspiracy leads, which is why they're trying to silence everybody, which is why people who are Democrats out there should actually pick these books up and read it. Then they'll figure out what's going on, because it's a blueprint for everything we're seeing out in the open. So Jerry obviously is serving a deliberate purpose out in the open, allowing people, they knew people would walk out. That was obviously planned. They probably paid people to walk out while Jerry was speaking at their own graduation to make a point so national news could cover it, right? But the thing with Michael Richards wasn't likely supposed to happen. I mean, there's a chance that they could have probably likely had it happen, but Michael Richards immediately got rescued because he wasn't supposed to say that, and he's a Freemason. So when they need to scratch each other's back if something's not happening according to plan, that's exactly how Masons work. And of course, we've seen, Jerry even doing the hands on the chin. This is another Masonic pose that they do. A lot of, the poses that you see where they're on magazine covers, not just doing all-seeing eye, but putting their hands to their chin. We've been trained to think that it's some type of professional pose. This is how the Masons operate. They operate in hidden symbols and hidden messages. So Jerry, of course, is out there now prominently, right? All of a sudden, he's talking about how he was just over in Israel, and Jerry was, he just feels for everybody, but he wants to be looked at as a neutral party that wants peace and doesn't want that. They're causing division deliberately. They're gaslighting everybody out there deliberately. And if you realize what that piece of land over there that seems to be a completely protected piece of land really is, which specifically is an industrial military complex, okay, that is waging war on civilians around the earth, then you'd realize what's happening. But they don't want you to ever get past the wall and the barrier that they've put up which is, oh, you can't question that. Oh, they're always fake. Oh, these people are just always under attack for no reason whatsoever because nobody likes the way they look, right? That's what they convinced everybody of, because they don't want you to realize that when they formed the state in 1948, they created a war machine. That's what they created. And of course, it's protected under religion. They've duped Christians into believing that it's a chosen people. They're allowed to do whatever they want. They don't realize that literally they're in bed. They have Christians in bed with the synagogue of Satan itself, okay? That's how bad this has gotten. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet to my other channel and you're still listening, Wake Up Call, I recommend you do so now. These are the types of videos that'll get you kicked off here, okay? Because there's too much truth in these videos. There's too much truth in talking about the connections between Freemasonry and, of course, what's the word? Ashkenazi, excuse me, Khazarians. They don't want you to realize who these people are. They just have a 3-letter word that they're protected by, okay? They're not really who they claim to be. That's the problem that's occurring here. That's the problem. Everybody thinks that they're a victimized group, that Jerry goes to his little building every Saturday and he's reading, the Torah. Everyone's like, oh, they're reading the Old Testament. That's not what they're reading, okay? The oral laws of Moses, there is really what they've written, the books that they've written, are the Babylonian teachings. The most wicked possible things you could possibly ever come up with in your own mind and think of, if you were to lay there and think of some of those disgusting things possible, they're in the books, okay? And they don't want anyone out there to know it, which is why they keep putting these laws and these bills in place. If you actually read the books, you'd suddenly realize, wait a minute, all this stuff that's happening out in the open, this crazy crap, it's stuff that they're normalizing. It all goes back to this same specific protected group of people and their teachings, which are teaching you really just Luciferian doctrine. Because ultimately, when you look at the Kabbalah, you look at all these books and Freemasonry, they all tie together. And it's all about worshiping Lucifer, the all-seeing eye of Lucifer that you constantly see, which is why you see Jerry and all these people constantly use the same signs and symbols, holding, Jerry, again, doing the 666 over his eye, right? Magazine covers doing the 666. Let's just recap some of the stuff, right? His wife holding the donut over her/his eye on a book cover, her own book cover, right? Peekaboo, the hidden hand that Jerry does over and over, right? With his Michael Richards connection, even doing the hand on the chin. I mean, it's everybody. And the problem that a lot of people have is that, I get it, a lot of people out there probably like the show Seinfeld. Like, I liked Seinfeld, I grew up on Seinfeld. Oh, so is that a reason to give Jerry a pass? Or is it more because you don't want to now suddenly have to watch Seinfeld and think of the fact that Jerry's connected? Now, you should already know that if you're awake, based on whatever religious beliefs they uphold in public, which is not a real religious belief. Jerry's really, at his core, is a Luciferian, pretending to be something that he's not. Remember, the synagogue of Satan. They don't want you to know this stuff. And Jerry probably feels protected now that there's bills out there protecting him, because Jerry's very, very, very narcissistic, as you can see in any interview that Jerry does. So Jerry would never want his earthly legacy tarnished, but he's doing what he's told to do, which is go out there and he's trying to play a neutral part in all of this stuff, while also helping ignite the national headlines of how people stormed out of his thing. And he was trying to be, in the middle about it, but continually, this is a story that's going to spread and spread and spread. Can you believe people walked out of jail? Oh, we should walk out of this. We should walk out of that. We shouldn't partake in this. They're telling you to do this. These people think they're independently thinking. The government is telling you to behave in this way. They're telling you to protest. They're the ones who started the protest. They're trying to cause as much division as possible. It's called order out of chaos. Divide and conquer. It's the oldest motto in warfare. And that's what they're using. So this is deliberately done. Again, if you didn't subscribe to the Wake Up Call channel, please make sure you do so now. The link is below. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.